My peoples. My peoples. Brian Norman Jr. is going to fight Jin Sasaki in Japan. And of course, he's going to be defending his WBO title. And that fight is going to take place tomorrow, my peoples. Keep that in mind. Sometimes we miss out on great fights. This is a championship fight because we don't know that it's going down on a Thursday. So, yes, it is on a Thursday. Check the schedule because it's going down in Japan. So, if you're on the East Coast, for example, on Eastern time, it's probably going to be early in the morning. It could be some, 6 in the morning, 7 in the morning. I'm not sure the time. I gotta check myself because I'm gonna be watching that fight. I'm gonna be calling it live. Um, but yeah, my peoples, let's talk about it. Y'all already know what it is, man. I'm Jay Smith. This is Box Center, your favorite boxers, favorite boxing show. First one in the building. Salute. Bam. Um, with Brian Norman Jr., you know what you're always gonna get. You're gonna get action. You're gonna get, a lot of punches. You're gonna get aggressiveness, and it's always fun to watch Brian Norman Jr. do his thing. Jin Sasaki is a fighter who, if I'm not mistaken, he's about 19-1 with 17 knockouts. So obviously he's a hard puncher. I've only seen highlights, and when you're watching highlights, it's hard for you to gauge how good someone actually is because it can be highlights that are edited in their favor. So I don't know how good Jin Sasaki actually is. I know that he's good. I just don't know how good he is. But obviously with a record of 19-1 and 17 knockouts, he has a high knockout percentage. So he has power. And he can fight. He can definitely fight. So we're gonna see how it plays out. I do have Brian Norman Jr. winning, and I'm wondering, is he gonna call out Boots after the fight? I actually wrote to Brian Norman Sr. asking him if they're gonna call out Boots. Let me see if he responds to that. But yeah, my peoples, I want to see how this fight plays out. I think that Brian Norman Jr. will be able to knock Jin Sasaki out. I'm gonna be honest with y'all. Maker, salute my brother. Bam, Morena happy. What's up? I think that Brian Norman Jr. got what it takes to finish this fight by stoppage. And like I said, man, I'm wondering if he's gonna call out Jerome Boost Ennis. You gotta think about that. Brian Norman Jr. has the WBO title, and Jerome Boost Ennis is holding on to two straps. We already know this. If they fight, that's a unification for three belts. And they already tried to negotiate. You got to remember that Boots and Norman Jr., they was going back and forth, and apparently negotiations broke down because Brian Norman Jr. felt like he was worth more than Eddie Hearns was offering, more than they wanted to pay him. So the fight didn't happen. But, if you watch Brian Norman Jr.'s last fight, he won in spectacular fashion. And now he's going to fight again. Let's see. Let's see, if he went, by the way, my peoples, Brian Norman Jr. is defending his WBO title on Thursday. That's tomorrow in Japan. So check the time because being that it's in Japan, it might be early in the morning. If you're, in the U.S. or something like that, it might be real early in the morning for you, that fight. Um, Maker, I thought Boo's going to 54. That hasn't been confirmed yet. You got to remember, my brother, Boots' main objective is to become undisputed in the welterweight division before going to 154. Now, if it cannot happen, he's going to leave to 54. But here's what I believe. If you notice, there hasn't been any official announcement. Boots hasn't come out and said or posted anywhere, hey, I'm going to 154. That's simply speculation. But here's what I think will happen, and the reason why we haven't heard from Boots. He's going to wait for Brian Norman Jr. to fight on Thursday, and they're going to try to make that fight once again. If they cannot make it, he might leave the division. If they cannot make it. Or he can do one more fight and try to get the winner of Manny Pacquiao versus Mario Barrios. I think it'll be hard to make that fight. It'll be real hard for him to get that fight. But let's see. Let's see how it plays out. Right now, look, there's some fighters who don't have an opponent lined up, who we really want to see what's next. Because look at Teofimo Lopez. Boots turned him down, and then he walked away from a fight with Devin. So right now, Teofimo don't have an opponent lined up. Devin Haney doesn't have an opponent lined up. Boots doesn't have an opponent lined up. So there's multiple fighters who we want to see who they're going to fight next. Dev Law, what's up? Bam. But right now, Brian Norman Jr. got his opponent in front of him, Jin Sasaki. Like I said, I've never seen a full fight of his. I've seen some highlights, and that's it. So I don't know how good he is. We're going to find out. I know that he got power. You know, I know that he has power, that's for sure. But, you know, coming out of nowhere. I'm always hesitant when I see a fighter who's coming out of nowhere, you know, like I don't know him. I look at his box rec and I don't really know his opponents. So it's always something to look at and never feel too confident. You know, like I feel like Brian Norman Jr. is going to knock him out, but at the end of the day, I don't truly know how good this guy is. Sometimes fighters like that can surprise you because you don't know everybody that's really good. We don't know everybody. There's fighters out there who we never heard of, we never seen, that are really good. That could beat a world champion right now, and we don't know him. So we don't know if Jin Sasaki is going to turn out to be one of these surprise, you know, that pull off the upset. We don't know. Maker, so many interesting potential matchups at 47. Dev Lawson, need any mods? Not right now, my brother, but I appreciate you asking. Maker, so many interesting potential matchups at 47. That's a fact, my brother. That's a fact. A lot of good fights. Let's see what Conor Benn is going to do, by the way. Let's see what Conor Benn, because, you know, they have it in place that, you know, they could rematch, but I don't know. They haven't officially said we're going to do it. There's no official date, nothing like that. Conor Benn may actually go back down. But if you look at Conor Benn, Jerome Boots Ennis, who hasn't left the division, Brian Norman Jr., Mario Barrios. Now you got Manny Pacquiao who's coming back versus Barrios. Blair the Flair Cobbs. There's some fights. Keith Thurman. One time. You know, I want to see Keith Thurman fight Boots, man. I really want to see that fight. Or Keith Thurman versus Conor Benn, too. Conor Benn, it's a good fight versus any of them. Black Jericho. Salute, Jay Smith. Good morning. That boy Norman ready to stop facts, bro. Facts. He's trying to... Because I tell you what, I have a feeling that Brian Norman Jr. is going to call out Boots after this fight. And if you remember his last outing, he won in spectacular fashion. I think he's going to look to do the same thing. His stock is on the up and up. He's going to call out Boots. I really think that's going to happen. Maker, exactly. Ben makes interesting fights. Yo, Conor Benn is going to be a big star in boxing for a long time. Because, you know, a lot of fans of boxing don't give a damn about a loss. You know, yes, there's those fans who's focused on, you got to be undefeated. If you lost, that's it. You're exposed. You're blah, blah, blah. But there's also that fan base who understands that a loss doesn't mean that you're a hype job or that you're a bum or anything like that. And he's an exciting fighter to watch. With Conor Ben, you know you're going to get the fireworks. Black Jericho, that boy Boots ducking. Now listen. Let me say something about that. Because I felt like he was ducking too. But Teofimo says something that made me feel like Boots may not be ducking. And this is it right here. He says something to the effect that the fight with Dev wasn't going to happen because of Turkey. And you know why it made me think that Boots is not ducking? Because Boots said, so I got to sacrifice my soul for that fight, but he don't got to sacrifice his soul to fight Devin? What do you mean by that? So what he's saying, it's okay for him to pull out of business with Turkey, but I got to do business with him? So then I said to myself, you know what? Was Boots ducking Teo, or was he ducking Turkey? Because now, is Teofimo ducking Devin, or is he ducking Turkey? That's the one common denominator. And Boots not fighting Teo, and Teo not fighting Devin. They both seem to not want to work with Turkey. My observation. Maker, I think Ben unlocked a new level in himself after that Eubank fight. Yo, that fight, man, was an epic battle. They're going to be talking about that fight for years to come, my brother. Like, that's one of those fights that ends up in ESPN Classic that, years down the line, people are still watching it again. That was a special fight to watch. Conor Ben, in a loss, he became better. And we're going to see that going forward. Black Jericho, Teo is ducking, and Boots was going for undisputed now. He not. I mean, we're going to see Boots play. Boots' next play. And I say that because you have to understand, him and Brian Norman Jr., they was already in negotiations. They was already trying to fight. And that fight unifies 3 titles in one shot right there. Boom. And it didn't work out because Brian Norman Jr. was not offered the amount of money that he wanted. But they was close. They was close. I believe they was like 300,000 shy of the amount of money Brian Norman Jr. wanted. It was that close. So I think, you know what, if he wins, especially in spectacular fashion, tomorrow, they could sit down again and make that fight happen. And that's what I believe Boots is waiting for before making a decision to say, okay, I'm out to 154. I believe he's waiting to see if they can make it happen with Brian Norman Jr. Maker, Jay Smith, I don't mean to go off topic, but you really think Bud only getting 10 mil? I think when he said that, he was trolling. Nah, I believe him. I truly believe that he's getting 10 mil because even before he said it, that's the number that had been floated around. So that's a figure that in a way he confirmed. He didn't tell us that he was making 10 mils. He confirmed, like, yeah, it's true. I'm getting 10 mils. So, and I believe that he's getting that figure because he said, yo, I'm making this much money. I'm not fighting for the money, for the people that thought I was getting the bag. I'm fighting for the legacy. I'm fighting to put my name up there. So I believe him. I really believe that. Black Jericho. Why would he be trolling? Why would he move up when he got Norman next and potentially a Pac fight or Rolly fight? I mean, that depends, my brother. What if it's just too tough to make weight? What if 147 is too tough to where he's like, yo, I'm only willing to make 2 more and that's it. I'll fight Brian Norman Jr. If I take that strap from him, I'll try to get the win of Mario Barrios and Pac-Man. But the moment I can't get one of those 2 fights, I'm out of here. I'm going to 154. That might be the case. He's only willing to fight to get those straps, or he's out of it. Black Jericho. Even Devin Booth could have fought him. Booth moving up to 154 with those killers is a bad move. It's that you gotta understand, my brother. Boots is a big dude, man. He a big fighter. He's a big guy, bro. Boots is almost 6 feet tall, and you see he got that frame. That guy's struggling to make 147. I mean, he's super athletic. He's gifted, so he can make weight. But that doesn't mean that, it's not taking a toll on his body. Black Jericho. 10 million is a lot of money, but the tail is not enough for Dev. I mean, listen, at the highest level, 10 million is not a lot of money. At the highest level. Like, for example, Canelo hasn't fought for $10 million in years and years and years. So $10 million, like, if you broke or if that's your first deal, $10 million is a lot of money. But today, to Terrence Crawford, $10 million is not a lot of money. To Canelo Alvarez, $10 million. He has a lot more. That's not a lot of money, really. Black Jericho. He the one who said he can make weight still. Yeah, I mean, he can make weight, but it's not easy. Trust me, it's not easy for him to make weight. He a big dude. You don't think it would be better to fight Norman now than at 154? I mean, I think in my opinion, right? In my opinion, the best move is to fight Brian Norman Jr. next. But I don't know if they're going to be able to make it happen because they've tried. And if I'm not mistaken, they tried twice already to negotiate, and it didn't work out. And it all boiled down to Brian Norman Jr. not getting what he felt he's worth. So, with him winning his last fight in spectacular fashion, and let's see if he does the same tomorrow, maybe they can sit down again and make it happen. Let's see. But to me, that's the best fight. Now, if they cannot make it happen, I believe that Brian Norman Jr. is going to get the hell out of there. Go to 154. Maker, what is your top 5 at 147 today? That's a tough question to ask, brother. I can't answer off the top of my head, but I will tell you my number 1 is Jerome Boost Ennis, and my number 2 is Mario Barrio. I'm tripping. Brian Norman Jr. 1 and 2 right there. Boots and Brian Norman Jr. Black Jericho. It's Teo's biggest payday, and he hasn't made over $1 million a fight yet. That's a duck. But they want a dude, and what the next man will do is different. So, me personally, I saw it as a duck. I said, what Tio did with Devin, I saw it as a duck. But we have to look at all the facts in play. And he said something that made sense. So I'll remind you. Hamza Shiraz versus Carlos Adames. Most people who watched that fight feel like Carlos Adames won. And if you recall, that's the fight where His Excellency Turki Al-Sheikh went to Shiraz's corner and told him, yo, he's down, he's losing. He's down on the cards. Come on now, he gotta deck him. So, the championship rounds, Carlos Adames won. Putting hands on Hamza Shiraz. And the judges scored it a draw. People felt like there was bias. Like everybody knew Hamza Shiraz is Turkey's guy. And they didn't want to give him that L. So take that into consideration. Take that into consideration. Because Teofimo Lopez says, yo, I gotta knock Devin out to beat him because he's of a certain religion. So Hamza Shiraz is Muslim, just like His Excellency Turkey Al Sheikh. And what is Devin? Muslim. So he's saying, yo, they're gonna take that from me. If we go the distance, it don't matter how much punishment I dish out, they're gonna take it from me. That's what he's saying. That's why he's saying that he pulled out. Black Jericho, I don't know, 154 Norman with more experience might clip Boots. I mean, I think Brian Norman and Jerron Boots Ennis are right there with each other, skills-wise. Brian Norman Jr., I think he's very much underestimated. He can fight. He can fight. That's why I say that, Norman Jr. versus Boots at welterweight is the fight to make. To me, that's the biggest fight in the division right now. Norman Jr. versus Boots. But let's see. Let's see if the numbers make sense and they can make it happen. Black Jericho. I mean, is Turkey not allowed to have favorite? Doesn't mean he's involved in the judge's decision. You can say the same thing for DAZN and Eddie Hearn. If you, the house fighter for Eddie, you can. So I'm gonna tell you why your comparison is wrong. I'm gonna remind you that Eddie Hearn is a promoter. As a promoter, if you're in the arena, everybody's expecting you to be on the side of your fighter. That's perfect. That's perfectly normal. His Excellency Turkey Al Sheikh is not a promoter. He's gonna start his promotional company with Dana White, the TKO stuff, but he's not a promoter, my guy. You know that. Now, when the guy setting up this event, not the promoter, the guy setting this up, the big boss up in here, goes to the fighter or to the fighter's team and says, yo, you're down on the cards, you're giving inside information, my brother. You can't do that. So that's the first thing. You're giving inside information. You never seen Eddie doing that. You never seen Bob Arum do that. Now that you're mentioning him. So you gotta understand. When the boss, the guy writing the checks, goes to the corner and gives them information about the scorecards, my brother, the judges are right there. They seen that. You don't think that could influence the judges? Like, wait a minute. The boss over there talking to Buddy over here, that's who he wants to win? You don't think that could influence the judges? Come on now. Come on now. It's not the same thing. Like, if a fighter is with this promoter and the promoter is in the arena, everybody in that arena knows that that promoter is there to support that fighter. That's not a secret. But you supporting your fighter is not the same as you going to the corner and giving them information about the scorecard. Because that information about the scorecard does two things. Number one, it's giving information to the team that you're not supposed to. And number two, it can influence the judges who see that you're giving out this information. So you got to take that into consideration, my brother. You got to take that into consideration. I would say that, Teofimo Lopez's concern is legitimate. Can we say his concern is not legit, taking into account what happened in the fight between Hamza Shiraz and Carlos Adames? Y'all tell me. I feel like it's a legitimate concern. But I still say that he ducked Devin Haney just because I wanted that fight. Then if you feel like they're going to rob you, try to knock him out. If you feel like they're going to rob you on the cards, get him out of there. But I wanted to see that fight. I was celebrating it and everything, but that's the way the cookie crumbles sometimes. There you have it. No Devin Haney versus Teofimo Lopez. A fight a lot of us wanted to see. Black Jericho. It's a legitimate concern, but it goes both ways. I mean, how does it go both ways? If you're looking at His Excellency Turkey Al-Sheikh being biased and appearing to be biased towards a Muslim fighter, now with Teofimo Lopez on the verge of fighting Devin Haney, is Devin Haney in this case the Muslim fighter? So how does it go both ways? I only see it going, in Devin Haney's favor if there's bias. Eric Gomes, Bomb Squad. Salute, my brother. Bam. What's the deal, my G? And by the way, yesterday, remember, my peoples, we was talking about Terrence Bud Crawford versus Canelo Alvarez. And y'all see how split people are between those who feel confident that Terrence Crawford is going to win and those who feel confident that Canelo's going to win. Yo, this fight is going to be something, that a lot of people are going to be disappointed either way. Eric Gomes, respect, my brother. Black Jericho, like for example, Norman versus Jin, he's going over to Japan. Of course he has to worry about the judges being home team and such. Yeah. Brian Norman Jr. going to Japan, he knows that he has to put the baits on that man. He has to bait his ass convincingly. No playing around. Eric Gomes, Canelo in an 18-foot ring, all bad for Bud. Nah, I don't see it. I think Crawford could beat Canelo inside of a phone booth. Well, see, the thing is, I'm going to tell you something, Eric Gomes, that I find interesting. For whatever reason, people are talking about this fight as if Crawford is going to be running around and Canelo's going to be chasing him. But Terrence Crawford has 42 professional fights, undisputed in multiple divisions, unified in multiple divisions, like so many accomplishments. And Crawford has never in his entire career been a fighter that runs from his opponents. He's never been a fighter that fights defensively, ever in his whole career. So the assumption that he's going to run from Canelo and they're going to get him a smaller ring so he now won't be able to run is crazy. A smaller ring is not going to mean anything for Canelo. It's not going to help him. Black Jericho. That doesn't mean you don't take the fight just because you think Turkey like the other dude more. Yes, it does mean you don't take the fight. If you feel like they're going to steal it from you, of course you pull out. If you're like, damn, the man with the power wants him to win, they're going to pick him to win, yeah, you pull out, of course. Maybe you don't, but if I'm in that situation, I would. I'm not going to take an L just like that because dude want me to lose. Eric Gomes, I hope Bud doesn't run, please. He's never ran in his whole career. How can we even think that Crawford, for the first time ever, is just going to become a runner? In the biggest fight of his career, the most important fight of his career, he's going to come with a new style. He's not going to use what got him here, what got him undisputed in multiple divisions. He's going to change up his whole style for Canelo Alvarez. Of course not. You're going to see the Terrence Crawford. You know what Terrence Crawford you're going to see versus Canelo? The same one that you saw versus Errol Spence. That's the Bud that you're going to see. Black Jericho, Crawford not a runner. I don't know where this conception comes from. That's what I'm saying, my brother. Like, in no fight in his entire career has Crawford been a runner. So why are people assuming that he's just going to turn into one now? Black Jericho, the most Crawford has moved around a lot was the Victor Postol fight. And that was early on because eventually he started trading leather with him before stopping him. Black Jericho. If that's the case, why would anyone fight the house fighter? Nah, bro, you're talking about why would anyone. We're not talking about anyone. We're talking about how Teofimos Lopez felt about fighting Devin. It's not about everyone and anyone and anybody else. Teofimo Lopez felt like Turkey was going to rob him. And as you can see, he no longer doing business with Turkey. Everybody else don't got nothing to do with that, my guy. Punisher, I can't wait. Errol ain't no Canelo. Oh, for sure. I'm not saying Errol Spence is Canelo. But, just like Canelo, they were saying, you, Punisher, too, were saying that Errol Spence is too big. Errol Spence is too strong. Crawford is not going to be able to handle the pressure. And now you're saying the same thing about Canelo. You're going to get the same results. Eric Gomes, Canelo makes track stars out of all his opponents. That's why we say we hope Bud doesn't also. But, well, that's not true, my brother. He didn't make a track star out of Triple G. How did that fight play out? He didn't make a track star out of Bivol. So it's like, yes, there's fighters who turned into track stars versus Canelo. Crawford is not going to be one of them. He's not. Eric Gomes. I had Bud over Spence. Is the second fight Triple G didn't fight Mexican style. I mean, the thing is that for the second fight, Canelo was way more aggressive. Canelo was actually taking it to Triple G. If you remember in the first fight, and that's one of the very few fights where you saw Canelo Alvarez actually using his footwork, like to move around the ring. He doesn't do that. That was the first fight where he was actually, worrying about his opponent's power. For the second fight, Canelo took it to Triple G. Went up to him, walked him down. So Triple G couldn't make that fight. Wasn't easy. The first fight though, man, I had some money on Triple G. And it was a draw, so I didn't lose either. I bet with a person. And that was a close fight, man. I honestly believe that it could have gone either way, which is why I was good with the draw. I was upset. I was like, nah, Triple G got that. Triple G got it, man. They robbed him. But then when I watched the replay, I felt like, yeah, it could have been a draw because there was so many swing rounds in that fight. Black Jericho, the second fight, Canelo was on PEDs too. I mean, I don't know. How do you come up with that conclusion, though? I don't know about that, bro. I don't know. I think you're making that one up out of thin air. and I'm only saying that because, I don't like to assume. When it comes to that, I don't like to assume. Whatever there's evidence of, we could go with that. But just assuming, oh, yeah, he was not. I don't do that, my brother. Punisher, Black Jericho, it was supposedly for the first fight. The rematch, Canelo was visually smaller. Wait a minute. Was it... I don't know if it was for the first or for the second fight. I can't remember. We're talking about when he got popped, right? I can't remember if it was for the first or the second fight. I mean, we could Google that shit. We could Google that shit and find out. But forget about that. Canelo Alvarez versus Terrence Bud Crawford. Crawford is going to win by unanimous decision, my people. There you have it. There you have it. Crawford is going to win by unanimous decision. I'm going to find out. People tell me, no. And look, this is something that I keep trying to point out to people. Especially those who focus on size. Right? I want you guys to take this into consideration. Please take this into consideration. You see how Everyone's saying, well, Crawford is moving up 2 divisions and all that weight is, weight class for a reason. And, that argument, that perspective. I want you guys to think about this. Terence Crawford has been walking around weighing over 180 pounds. Just a couple of weeks ago, he hopped on a scale and he took a picture and posted it. Like 185 or 186 pounds. So what I'm trying to tell you by this, my peoples, is that Crawford is not going to, just gain 14 pounds on the last couple of weeks to fight Canelo. He's actually in training camp, and he's going to have to cut down in weight to make 168. Let that marinate. Let that sink in. He has to cut down to 168 pounds. The notion that Canelo's going to be mad big and Crawford is going to be small is delusional. Did y'all not see them go face to face when they was in the ring after Canelo beat Skull? Did Canelo look big in front of Crawford? Keep it real. Keep it real, my peoples. Punisher, I agree, Jay Smith. Bud Crawford getting whooped by Canelo. I'm with you. Yo, I'm telling you, Crawford is going to put the beats on Canelo. Might even make it look easy. At times, he might even make it look easy against Canelo. Because y'all forgot that there's already 2 fighters that made it look easy against Canelo. Eric Gomes, if you want to win money, bet on Canelo. If you want to lose money, bet on Crawford. If you bet on Canelo, you're going to lose money. Whatever amount of money you put on Canelo, you're going to lose it. Now I'm trying to tell you. David Shatswell, I'm going to tell you like this. They were saying it was cap when I said Crawford was going to stop Errol Spence. They were saying it was cap. You thought Errol Spence was going to knock Crawford out. You thought Errol Spence was too big, too strong. Crawford wasn't going to handle the pressure. And look what happened. Crawford put the Swiss, the Apple, and the Dre beats on Errol Spence. The same thing is going on right now. You think Canelo's too big, too strong, or whatever. And Crawford's going to beat him. Punisher. Canelo ain't look big in front of Charlo either. About the same as Bud and him. Yeah. I mean, Charlo, I thought even looked bigger sometimes in some angles. No, actually, I was for Crawford. Yeah, the funny thing, David, that everybody was for Crawford now. After he beat Errol Spence, everybody now was for Crawford. I don't understand that. Before, when everybody expected Errol Spence to win, you couldn't find nobody to agree that Crawford was going to win. And now, everybody was for Crawford. I don't know, bro. I don't know. Eric Gomes, I knew Spence was not good, and the accident was bad for him coming back. Eric Gomes, the accident is one of the worst excuses that has been used in boxing history. The accident is only used by Terence Crawford haters and Errol Spence fans. And I'm going to tell you why. I want everybody to please pay attention to what I'm saying. When Errol Spence had that car accident, it looked a lot worse than what it was, and y'all don't want to accept that reality. That accident, Errol Spence was ejected from the car, but he was lucky. Why? He didn't break a single bone in his body, and he didn't have neurological damage. Errol Spence, his worst injury when he flew out of that car was that he busted teeth. That was the worst injury. So I want you to think about this. If he had an accident where he didn't break a single bone in his entire body, how are you going to say that 2 years later, when he's fighting somebody, he's affected by that accident? What injury does he have in his body that you think carried for 2 years, my brother? You tell me. I want you to think about that. What injury did Errol Spence have that affected him for the Crawford fight? We're talking about Errol Spence that already beat Danny Garcia and that already beat Ugas for a title. A guy who came back and already fought twice. And he's affected when he's fighting Crawford by accident that didn't give him no long-term injuries. That doesn't even make sense, bro. But people don't want to give Crawford his flowers, so they say, nah, Errol had the accident. The accident didn't have nothing to do with that ass whooping, my brother. At all. Eric Gomes, I was Team Bud, and I am not a PBC fan at all. Well, the accident don't have absolutely nothing to do with what happened in that fight. At all. And when you say I was Team Bud and I'm not a PBC fan at all, yo, we didn't even mention PBC. Right now, that's exactly what you sounded like when you say that. Like you was a Bud hater and a PBC fan. Because only Bud haters and PBC fans bring up the car accident. And that's exactly what you did. You brought up the car accident. Cap. I call Cap Eric Gomes. Punisher, Jay Smith. I know you like Bud, so I'm not trying to talk bad about him. Just saying my piece. But Bud ain't no Floyd or Bivol, bro. All I'ma say is this. We shall see in the fight. I can't wait. That's the thing. You're saying that Bud ain't no Floyd or Bivol. I'm not saying Bud is a Floyd or Bivol either. But Floyd ain't no Bivol and Bivol ain't no Floyd. When Bivol whooped his ass, he wasn't no Floyd, right? So I'm trying to explain to you that you don't need to be this guy to beat him or you don't need to be that guy to beat him. You just need to be good enough to beat him. That's what you need to be. You need to be good enough. You need to have the right tools to beat Canelo. And what you are disregarding is that the two guys that beat Canelo Alvarez, they didn't knock him out. They were not power punchers. Dimitri Bivol and Floyd Mayweather didn't have a high knockout percentage. In those fights, they never hurt Canelo. They never wobbled him or nothing. They just outboxed him and made him look like a B-level fighter. That's all they did. Outboxed him. Both of them. Eric Gomes. After the accident, he only fought Danny Garcia, a guy who best weight was at 140, not a real 147 fighter. I bring up the car accident because Spence sucks, period. Bro, after the accident, he fought Danny Garcia. You forgot that he fought Ugas too? Bro, he fought Ugas to get the title that Ugas had taken from Pac-Man. I guess you forgot about that. So Errol Spence had 2 championship fights with 2 champions after that accident. So the accident has absolutely nothing to do with the fight with Terrence Crawford. To say that, well, I know he was not that good because of the accident, that's cap, bro. That's cap. Major cap. That's basically an excuse to not give Crawford his flowers. Crawford beat him because he's a great fighter and he was the better fighter that night. That's the reason why. Punisher, man, I can't wait. I can't wait either. I can't wait. Just like I couldn't wait for Crawford versus Spence. And then, you know what's funny? All the people that are saying what Canelo's going to do to Bud, 3 years down the line, 5 years down the line, when we talk about this fight, y'all niggas is going to be like, nah, yo, I knew Crawford was going to beat Canelo. I posted about it and everything. Yo, I knew it. Y'all going to say y'all knew it too, just like y'all doing with Crawford and Spence. You knew it too. Come on now. I know y'all already did this whole thing with Errol, where y'all was saying Errol was going to knock Crawford out. And then afterwards, y'all was like, nah. I knew Crawford was going to do that. I knew he was going to beat Errol. All of a sudden, all of y'all knew now. So when Crawford beat Canelo, y'all going to do the same thing, bro. Years down the line, y'all going to tell everybody, oh, I knew Crawford was going to do that. I told everybody. Stop the games. Eric Gomes, Ugas Basura. Another in-house PBC fight. Oh man. Yo, Eric, now you arguing like a casual boxing fan, bro. You arguing only casual boxing fans go around calling world champions basura and garbage, bro. You arguing like a casual boxing fan who's watching too much YouTube videos. Black Jericho, facts. Punisher, nah. I'm telling you right now, I know Canelo whooping Bud. Remember that. Just like you knew Errol Spence was whooping Bud. I'm telling you right now, Crawford is whooping Canelo. You remember that. You don't disappear when Crawford whoop him. Black Jericho, everybody gonna be like, I knew Bud could do it. Yeah, yo, that's what it's gonna be. Just like everybody knew Bud was gonna beat Spence, everybody's gonna say, I knew he was gonna beat Canelo. I know how y'all be switching up y'all stories, man. Come on now. Mark Masters, Canelo has been on the decline for a while. I mean, I can't agree with you, my brother, because if he's been on the decline for a while, he's only had one loss. Since losing to Floyd Mayweather, 10 years ago, whatever amount of time that was, I can't remember, but since losing to Floyd Mayweather, he's lost once, my brother. How could he be on the decline? He just won his last fight and became undisputed in a new division. So he's actually accomplishing more. So I can't agree with you on that, Mark Masters. That's my opinion. Where Ugas now? It doesn't matter where Ugas is now. What does it matter? He's a world champion. And you're talking about basura? World champion is basura? I can't take you serious, my brother. How can I take you serious when you're calling world champions basura? If you could call a world champion basura, my G, that means that you never in your life laced on a pair of gloves, never boxed, never competed, watch a lot of TV, and you're going to call some guy garbage, a world champion that made it all the way to the highest level. That's crazy work, my guy. Crazy work. Mark Masters. Look who he fought. Skull, Belanga, Munguia, Charlo, Ryder, Old Triple G. Okay, he beat all of them. What are you saying? He beat all of them, my guy. The opponents that you pick doesn't dictate that you're on a decline. If you want to make an argument to say that he cherry picked, then you can make that argument. But saying that he cherry picked or saying that those guys are no good doesn't prove that he's on a decline, my brother, at all. You can make an argument for him cherry picking, but not for him being on a decline when he beat all of them. Punish. Now, if you tell me that he lost 2 or 3 out of those fights, I would say, shit, he's on the decline. He's getting beat. All these dudes are beating him. I'm going to tell you he's on the decline. But if he's winning all of the fights, come on now. Punisher. Why you said I never gave a prediction on that Spence versus Bud fight. I wasn't a subscriber yet. And I won't disappear. I'm almost always here. All love, bro. I said I never gave a prediction. I'm not sure what you mean by that, but I personally, I know that I gave a prediction. Maybe you had already been subscribed to the channel by that time. I'm not sure. But I actually gave multiple predictions saying that Crawford was going to stop Spence by the 8th or the 9th round. The videos are up right now. Like, you can actually go all the way back and find the videos where I'm predicting that he's going to stop Errol. So I posted that. That's up. Eric Gomes. In-house fights in the PBC are set up. WWE acting belts are the illusion. Oh, I see you like conspiracies. Okay. Mark Masters, those guys are not good. You don't see it. He lost to Bivol before those guys. So, listen. As far as how good those guys are, my brother, what I'm saying is That's an opinion about cherry picking. If you're saying that he's cherry picking because those opponents are not good, I could agree or disagree with you, but that's an argument about cherry picking. That's not an argument about him being on the decline, because if we watch Canelo in the ring, this is what I'm trying to tell you, my brother, right? If we watch Canelo in the ring, his hand speed. Good morning, Ryan. Good morning. Come over here. Say good morning to the people. You want to say good morning? Liru, hold on one second. Pero tú sí estás bonito. ¿Y por dónde tú vas tan bonito, Liru? Where you going like that? You going to a party?
Que sí, pero ¿dónde está mi paleta?
Dame un abrazo. Give me a hug, Liru.
Mi paleta.
You gotta wait for it. I'm doing the show. Look,
Mi paleta.
let me do the show. You gotta wait.
No, mi paleta.
Anda, ve with mommy. I'll tell you right now. Mark Masters, okay, he's cherry picking and he's not even able to stop them. He also just had the terrible fight against Skull. So here's what you're not considering. You may be somebody who doesn't like Canelo, so you might be looking for a negative angle. How is he going to stop Skull if Skull was running the whole fight? It's hard, bro. It's hard to stop a fighter who's there to survive. The hardest thing is to stop a guy who's there to survive. Skull was the whole fight. Lateral movement, left, right, back, left, straight back, right. My brother, how do you stop a guy like that who's not there to fight? Berlanga, there to survive. Same deal. Charlo, there to survive. Same deal. How do you stop guys that is not going to stand there and fight with you? So Canelo, the one thing that we all know, he doesn't have the greatest footwork in the world. He doesn't. So you got a guy like Skull, a Cuban fighter. These people are born with that type of footwork, it seems. Who's going to use it? He couldn't catch him. Now, was Canelo hurt at any point in that fight? Was he staggered? Was he in danger of losing? No. Was any of those guys even a threat? No. But it's hard to stop somebody that's not there to fight. It's hard. Punisher. Man, they always move the goalposts on Canelo. They've been saying he been cherry picking even before the Bivol fight. I mean, in reality, that's always been the case. With all the best fighters, there's always been the casual fan base who's going to talk about cherry picking only and not see what they accomplish. If you talk about Floyd, they're going to say cherry pick. If you talk about the greatest fighters out, they're going to say they cherry picked. Mark Masters, he doesn't have the legs. He's never been a mover. So how he's going to catch Bud? I got Crawford winning the fight, and that's one of the reasons. Because Crawford has the great footwork, the height and reach advantages. I see Crawford being able to keep him at the end of that jab. I see that. Punisher. Man, he reminds me of my little brother a bit. They are so cute. They're just little people. He's already 3 years old, my bro. 3 years old. I don't want bro to grow, but I'm going to enjoy the time they still little. He's still a baby to me. See him in 2 months. You already know, man. It's a beautiful thing. Beautiful thing, man. He's 3. He's going to be 4 this year. And I'm just enjoying the process of watching him grow, learn. He loves boxing. But, yeah, my people, Canelo versus Crawford is not going to play out the way a lot of people feel it's going to play out. I've been trying to say it. You know, I made my prediction. And y'all going to find out. You know, a fight that I'm really looking forward to is Shakur Stevenson versus William Zepeda. Really looking forward to that fight. And you know why? Because What's that? Let me see. I'm really looking forward to Shakur Stevenson versus William Zepeda. Oh,
Pero mi pie.
taking that to the party? Are you taking that to the party? You want to show to the people what you take it to the party? You want to show them? You take one out and show it to them. Take one out and show it to them. That's what he's taking for his friends to the party in his school. Little cookies and whatnot. You know. He gonna hook his peoples up, his boys in school. He got them. Llegó solo mami. Tu galletica. Punisher, same. Just enjoying the time and the process. And he loves boxing as well. He has gloves and a little Cobra bag. That's fire. That's fire, bro. My peoples, I'm about to end this live. I want to give a shout out to everybody who came through. Black Jericho, I got to take my son to school. I got to go to work. Y'all already know my brother Black Jericho, Punisher, Eric Gomes, Mark Masters. Who else came through today? Let me see. And everybody, oh, Dave Shotwell and everybody else who joined. Yo, y'all already know what it is, man. I'm Jay Smith. This is Box Center. This is your favorite boxers, favorite boxing show. Don't forget to hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe. I'm going to see y'all tonight, my peoples. Like around 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern time. We're going to get down. We're going to talk boxing. And by the way, tomorrow, the Brian Norman Jr. fight versus Jin Sasaki. That's going to be a very good fight. Don't miss it. I'm going to be calling it live. I'm going to see you tomorrow during that fight, my peoples. Y'all already know what it is. I'm out of here. Bam. Salute to everybody. Peace and love.